Welcome to another edition of the Make Sierra Leone Famous podcast. I'm your host with the most. So fabulous, so amazing. You tune in every week because, of course, you know that Vicky Rameau is going to bring you the best conversation, the best content, but most importantly, we're going to continue our work together. You know, now me and you, now we did do the work, not to be one get to do it, to make Sierra Leone famous for the right reasons. Today, we're having a conversation about the workforce of the future, Sierra Leone's workforce of the future. Are we preparing our young people to take on the challenges that are to come in the workforce? And when we talk about the workforce, we're talking about labor, we're talking about the economy, we're talking about job creation, but most importantly, we're talking about skills. Elsewhere in the world, the trends point to the emergence of robots taking on manufacturing jobs. In other parts of the world, we're talking about the role of machine learning and artificial intelligence in completing all kinds of tasks. We're also talking about a change in learning and knowledge. You know, back in the day, we used to think that you would go to high school or go to secondary school. You don't need secondary schools until you go vocational school. From there, you go college. Then when you don't college, sometime you go further your studies. But most people there, when you get your first degree, you get your work done. The world of today and the world of the future is moving towards a culture of continuous learning, where employers are expecting that as new technology emerges, as new skills emerge, that you are going to continuously be getting these new skills so you can bring them to their workplaces to increase their productivity. And in this day and time, you know, to help them connect with, you know, Gen Z audiences, you know, the younger generations. Here in Sierra Leone, when we're talking about the workforce of today is primarily agrarian or agricultural workforce. The majority of Sierra Leoneans who are gainfully employed are in agriculture. But up to about 90% of those people who are employed in Sierra Leone are either informally employed or in low skill labor. That means that the level of production for them is quite low. This is where we come into this conversation about human capital, right? For Sierra Leone, when we compare to what other countries are producing per each individual who is active in the economy, we produce very little. I'm hoping we can have this conversation today so that we can look forward and maybe start thinking about things that need to evolve about the way we train young people, educate people, and prepare them to join the workforce. Today in the studio, I have some very special guests, dear guests, people that I respect, who are either in the education sector or who I believe have done different things from the things they learned in school and continue to evolve or upskill so that they can be employable or entrepreneurial. My first guest, oh my God, you guys, is such a special person, okay? My first guest is none other, you know, because Nasalon say none other, no other person than the Deputy Vice Chancellor of the Institute of Public Administration and Management at the University of Sierra Leone, Mrs. Miriam Conteh-Morgan. Or if you're her niece, you can call her Auntie Nyonya. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Vicky.
You're welcome. My next guest in the studio is a young woman who we actually met in a very interesting way. We met when I used to do digital skills training for anyone, young professional students, and she was someone who popped up, I think, 3 years ago, and that's how we met. And in the 4 years that have passed since I met her, because 2019, so now 4 years. Yeah, it's like almost 4 years. 2019, 4 years? Was it 4 years? Yeah. In the 4 years that have passed, I've seen her evolve, because I remember when I met her, she told me what she had studied and what she hoped to do. And then, you know, I've seen her go on to do really amazing things that I think are workforce of the future-ish. My second guest for today is Ms. Yasmin Metz-Johnson. You may know her from the Y2 podcast. You may also know her from Yasmin Tells, which is her blog and content production company. You may also know her most recently from Tells Trips, which is her curated travel experience company, travel and tour experience company that she started a couple years ago to bring anyone really from the diaspora, people based anywhere on the continent, interested in exploring West Africa. Welcome to the show, Yasmin.
Thank you so much, Vicky.
Yeah. Also, if you want connections to Mama Lou's, she's your girl, because Mama, I guess. You know why? They're in my office and I need a snack. I'm like, Yasmin, then they deliver.
I've been for free today.
You know,
sorry, I'm so sorry.
Oh,
you know,
my
usually
God.
I'm on point, I bring.
Anyway, now this December is not one to remember. So, my final guest, of course, he's a man, so we have to introduce him last because, you know, it's just a hierarchy of things in this place, is a very good friend of mine, a colleague, and someone who I believe a lot of people don't know him because he's more of a behind-the-scenes person, but someone who has skills that I feel like will make him forever employable, or if not even employable, always entrepreneurial, someone who will always get paid, and he gets paid. I tell you now, very expensive guy. You cannot hire him. Nobody, don't try. Is cinematographer, producer, director, all around multimedia. What do you call yourself? Expats. Jon Akinola. Welcome to the show, Jon.
Thank you.
Okay. Did you like my intros, you guys?
Amazing.
Okay. Thank you. Off the cuff. I
know.
This is why I'm the Vicky. You know, I can tell this. I'm the host. Don't try me. Don't try me. So, Deputy VC Conteh-Morgan, I would like to start with you. So, is there a project or a program within the University of Sierra Leone that is specifically looking at shaping or forming or skilling or upskilling people who come through the university channels with a view of making them match, you know, what's coming up in the future? Is that conversation going on with academics, training? How are you guys approaching preparing learners for employment of today and for tomorrow?
That's a very good question, Vicky, and I'm pleased that you've asked that.
Columbia University, please don't try.
Yeah, I know that. You never make us forget. But one of the things, not just the University of Sierra Leone, but we have been at the forefront of that, is also what other universities have been doing, is getting employers involved in curriculum development. Because one of the first things that we were always hearing from employers was that, you know, our products are not workplace ready.
And by products in the sense you mean
the graduates.
Okay.
The graduates. Yeah, I'm probably taking a production line there.
No, I got you.
Yeah. No, because I like to talk about that we're at the end of the pipeline, as it were. You know, it rolls off the conveyor belt and we're at the last stop. But, you know, so for like 5 years ago, about 7 universities won a grant from the British government. And what that did was, the proposal we put forward was to retool the curriculum so that it meshes with what employers are looking for. So one of the first things we did was to have a stakeholder engagement in the various fields. So, for example, at IPAM, where we have what was then the management sciences, so we worked with bankers, we worked with insurance, we worked with the tax people, accountants, and so on, the professional bodies. And we asked them, what's lacking? So that's where we started. So from that, we co-developed skills that were necessary. And mostly it was the soft skills. Okay. Critical thinking, of course, communication skills, and things like that. So we engage them throughout the process of what we called at the University of Sierra Leone the re-engineering project. So, in fact, I was leading that arm of it, where we looked at the various curricula at the 3 colleges and tried to match employer needs with. So we also created new courses.
Okay.
But hey, there's the downside to that has been that everybody wants to do procurement. Everybody.
Okay.
Yes.
Because I can try for understand,
Oh.
like, really, for such a small economy,
I'm telling you.
Usai, we not a make, and we not get for buy and sell.
Everybody
Now
wants-
all man are
well,
procurement
procure. Yeah.
specialists.
And you ask them, they come in, oh yeah, I want to do procurement. So do you have an idea? They have no clue.
Okay.
I was kind of counseling a young lady, and she said, oh, my teacher says procurement. I said, that's where the money is?
Yes.
So even though we see these trends, and mind you, this is not just happening in Sierra Leone.
Of course.
Speaking with colleagues at the University of Ghana and at GIMPA, procurement is the most oversubscribed course as well. So there must be something that I don't know. But that's one. So doing the curriculum, but also what we have just started at IPAM. IPAM is the business school of the University of Sierra Leone. And we have launched a center for entrepreneurship and innovation.
Okay.
And this is because I firmly believe that we can do the academics, but then you turn graduates out, there are no jobs. So they have to be looking inward and seeing how they can generate their own money, how they can be employers. And it's amazing to learn, to observe our students. You go into our classes, everybody's selling something.
Okay.
From akara to drinks to fabrics to, so there is an entrepreneurial spirit there. So this is what we're hoping to capture. We've had pitch nights.
Okay.
We have had, we're currently launching a 3-month training from January to March, kind of taking them through and getting their market ready for market kind of thing.
Okay.
A lot of hand-holding there.
Okay.
So it's a mix of doing the academics, but also the more practical things of ensuring that the workforce, if you're not ready to be employed, if you cannot be employed, but you can be an employer yourself. So that's the exciting part of what we're doing right now.
So, I mean, IPAM is probably different in nature because by design, it is more this like business school. And one of the things that was shocking to me recently, so you know what COVID has done? It's like when I want to think of like last year, what I really mean is like 2019, and I'm stuck. So I wanted to say like, last year, 2019, I was like, no, but in 2019, I went to the University of Sierra Leone to give a talk. I was invited to give a talk to a class. And the lecturer invited me, and I went, and it ended up being a sociology class. And there were 400 students in the sociology class. And I remember thinking, why are we doing even sociology in Sierra Leone, right? Because, so I took some sociology and some anthropology classes when I was an undergrad, but as a specialization, you know what I mean? Like when someone graduates with a sociology degree in Sierra Leone, I was like, what does that prepare you to do in the existing workforce? Or yesterday we were talking to a young man and he said he was a lawyer. And I meet a lot of people who are reading law. And I'm just like, yeah, okay, understand that a lot of people know lawyers who have a lot of wealth. And so maybe that allows people to think that like you were saying about the procurement, this idea that people start to think that certain professions, they starting work, they give boku money because in Sabi 1, 2, 3, we don't do the work. But then I'm like, how many lawyers can this economy, how many lawyers does this country need, right? If you think about supply and demand, right, and your skills put you either more in demand or less in demand. If you're studying sociology or law, what is the demand for those kinds of jobs? And so those are things that I'm always questioning, like who's informing, like for advice people then for say, oh, okay, this year, now so the economy don't change or now so it don't go. So you at a kind inside college, these are the trends the way available at the local markets where you go one for make sure say by the time they done by 4 years, because this trend here so don't begin, I go able like become maybe a niche person in this area. But I don't necessarily see that happening in that way. But I do see individuals like Yasmin and Jon who I feel like I know what they studied in school, but somehow understanding what either the global economy is or the local economy is are becoming entrepreneurs. I don't know if you call yourself entrepreneurs, but like have kind of like transitioned from this is what I studied, but I've developed this new skill set to match this market. Yasmin, I'll come to you first. So you didn't go to school in Sierra Leone. I guess we're passing come back to Salone. You know, go say immigrate to Salone. Nah, you repatriated. You came home, you returned. What did you find between the skill sets that you had, what you had studied in uni, and what was available for you because people also get these beliefs, say if you come out diaspora, it's so much easier for you to get a job, right? So what did you find between what you had learned and studied and when you came to Sierra Leone and the job market's capacity to pull you in and offer you employment?
Okay, so I'll start off by explaining what I studied. I studied interior architecture, and all the time people are like, what is interior architecture? So that is changing the an existing structure and changing the purpose of it. So there's many structures in Sierra Leone that would actually benefit from what I studied.
We'll say that again.
Oh yeah, our lack of maintenance and just wanting to even see the value in repurposing a building is just not there. So it wasn't too difficult to connect with other architects and other designers. But something I did notice is that there's a lot of engineers. So similar to what you were saying, how I think people always just look at, what jobs are people doing, and it makes a lot of money. Yeah. And I always have this running joke, like everybody who I would associate as a friend here or people I've met, and I always say, it's as if you're only told about 3 job roles here: doctor, lawyer, engineer, which is so.
Oh, not forget accountant.
Oh yes,
accountant. But the accountant, you need to say, forget that CPA. So no, that CPA because Salon no I don't know if they get now, but Salon no being get
ACC.
Yeah, there was this thing about not being able to certify in Sierra Leone because there was no course that was so. If you want get the certification, you have to study USEF, and people then really been they struggle for that. But no, go ahead, Yasmin.
No, so I was just saying along those lines that it wasn't too hard to connect with other architects.
When you came here with your kind of like your professional formation, right? I've been trained to be an interior design architect. But when you came to Sierra Leone, did you find that you could match easily like what your skill sets were within this job market? Like, could you find work? Could you find employment? Like, and from what you're saying, I'm extrapolating that you didn't.
No, I didn't. I've done some interesting projects. So I worked on the World Bank, the new one on Spur Road.
The building.
The building,
Sure.
yeah. So I worked on that project, and I've worked on a few other projects, but that was very much through connections.
Okay.
I would say if anyone was coming and they didn't have the connects, then they wouldn't be able to find opportunities.
Jon, I don't know Usai for put you whether or not you're a product of us or like it adds, you know. So first of all, tell us a little bit about your educational background because Usai you can give credit. Where do you give credits for your education? Because I mean one claim you not say, you know, can't stop me just now. What did you study and where did you study?
I studied computer engineering in Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology.
Which is in Ghana.
Which is
okay.
in Ghana. Got a couple of certifications in management information.
Where did you do high school?
I was a science student.
Okay.
All
okay.
through.
Okay.
Where
did you go to high school?
A mix of places. places.
You know what? You know what?
Salone,
You know what?
Ghana, Nigeria.
Okay, after you finished at Tech, I know you came back to Sierra Leone. When you came back, what were you hoping to do?
That's very interesting because I was more of a software person.
Okay.
I came back to Sierra Leone, that was about 2005, and everybody was in the IT space, was doing networking and hardware and stuff like that. And there were very few jobs. My parents had introduced me to the arts and music and stuff. So I got involved by happenstance. Okay, I'd already started, I used to play in a band in school and stuff like that. And then my neighbor was Kingfisher of Bodyguard Studios.
Okay.
And he was like, he was working on a project at the time, and he needed somebody to complete the project, a music project. And he knew I could play instruments and stuff, and he called me and he was like, dude, I need somebody. My producer has been acting funny. So I went, finished the project for him. And he was like, dude, you could do this at least for now that you're trying to figure out what you want to do. So I really got into music, produced a lot of albums, maybe for a year or two. Managed some artists.
I did not know any of this, by the way.
Oh, you did not know this? Oh, I produced.
I just thought you were just that guy who sat at Bliss using the internet because you had nowhere to go and nothing to do.
Nah.
Is that how you met?
Well, that's what I mean. It's Siam, you know. I mean, it's Siam at this
We've
cafe.
gone to the same primary school, but we weren't close then.
Did we go to primary school together?
Meriwether.
Did you go to Meriwether?
I was your head boy.
This Negro said, "How was your head?" Really?
Yeah, I did.
Oh my God, no recollection. You
Yeah.
must not have been like
No.
that good of a head boy because I don't remember
No,
yet.
I was a quiet head boy.
Okay. Wow, I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah. So, but I did a lot of stuff. I don't toot my horn a lot,
Okay.
but I
Very on Nigerian and on Yoruba view. Are you sure you're one of us?
I'm more Sierra Leonean. than anything.
Okay.
Yeah, but I produced music for Emerson, produced DJ Lulu's albums, a lot of big albums that
I
played
actually
out
do
at the
remember
time.
when you were working with Emerson.
Yeah,
I feel like
I managed him.
Sure, yes, I
I
remember
produced
that.
albums for him, produced for Wahid, and at some point I had quite a few songs on the top 10 in Sierra Leone that I produced myself. But that experience kind of opened my eyes to how much more of a creative person I was.
Okay.
And then I got introduced to film by happenstance. Of course, being in the music space, you
Sure,
have to
music
create
videos,
visuals
right.
and stuff. But I wasn't sure how interested I was in it. And then a friend of mine was having, shout out Bimbola Carol.
Hey, Bimbala.
Yeah, he had an international crew that he was providing logistics for.
Okay.
And they needed sort of like a production
A gaffer or
assistant.
something, yeah.
And he was like, dude, you could do this. And I was like, dude, I'm not into film. And he was like, no, just go and wing it. And, you know.
Workforce of the future.
Yeah. and I went there, and for the first time I saw a professional film crew live operate. And I was so intrigued by how many different roles were in that space and how everyone was specialized. And I was like, dude, this is a lot of creative people with different roles putting something together and producing a product that like has an impact on people. And that really got me interested. And then what I did was, that project was ongoing for a couple of years. I made myself available every time they were around in town. And I learned a lot through that process. And the more I learned, the more I was interested. And then I started learning stuff on my own. And then I got a camera myself, and then, you know, started improving my own self in that space. And things just grew from there. And most of what I've learned is from, you know, just being in the space where people that know what they're doing are not being afraid to ask questions. And then going back to sit down, the internet is a very great resource.
Right.
Going to sit down and learn stuff on my own. And that's how I got into what I'm doing now, and I love it.
What do you do now, Jon?
so initially I was more interested in communications as a whole, like producing multimedia for communications as a whole. But then recently I've sort of focused on film and making visuals. I've been working a lot, not in Sierra Leone so much anymore, mostly internationally, on TV shows, movies, documentaries, all sorts of stuff in different roles as a producer, production manager, director, cinematographer. I've honed my skills now to the point that, you know, the biggest producers of movies and stuff like that look at me and they pick up the phone and call me and they hire me to do jobs. And I think my story is the direction a lot of young people in our space should look at, because for Sierra Leone, our economy is like import dependent. We are not producing a lot. We produce probably, and it's primarily primary production. So we don't like have tertiary production, manufacturing, and all of that. That would employ a lot of people. So the onus is on individuals to sort of build themselves and create jobs for themselves, like she was saying before. And you have to either work on yourself or make yourself available to be kind of tutored or like some sort of apprenticeship or internship to gather skills and then develop yourself to the point that you make a living for yourself out of what you do. So that's my story.
Well, one of the things I think we need to get over in Sierra Leone is that, as you're saying, these are good paying jobs, respectable professions, trades. But then, you know, we all think, I mean, there are those of us who think we all need to go to the academic track, take the academic track. I mean, for example, at IPAM alone had over about 12,000 applicants. I mean,
in 1 year?
This year.
What's your capacity?
Well, we can't, you know,
What's your current capacity?
The current capacity is, I mean, we're countrywide, so
Okay.
note that as well. And we have the degree and diploma programs.
Sure.
So we're talking of about 15,000
Okay. But just for the incoming class, you got
applications.
12,000 applications.
12,000 applications for something like maybe 3,500 spaces.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
I'm sorry. Is this like a new surge? And was that surge impacted by changes at the WASC level, where we had this like incredibly magical, instantly excellent results, where now everybody passes and everybody feels like, well, no, not what feels like. They know, because then people say they don't pass, right? And then they come to you. Before this magic happened, what was the usual kind
average
of?
was maybe 6,000, 7,000.
Okay, okay. So it doubled.
Yeah, pretty much. And of course, you know, even if we've experimented with online courses.
Distance learning, okay.
Yeah,
and how's that going?
It went very well. And but it's also capital intensive.
Of course.
You know, having to put all what it takes, a technical thing. So, so we piloted that with Bow, which is one of our largest regional campuses, Bow and McKinney.
And what was the format? Is it that students come in to take the online
courses? So it's more distance.
Okay, distance learning. Okay, sure,
it's
got
not,
it.
But again, because lectures were recorded, so students can come back to it.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, coming back to TVET and so, because there's still that stigma, you know, that if you do not go, well, then for a Bay College, you're not educated.
Then Frabe College. If you did not go to then Frabe College.
No, it's still, you know, it's
Really?
surprising. There still has the cachet. There is
So
that brand recognition.
The people still think that FBC is the best educational institution in
yeah.
Sierra Leone,
Oh, yeah.
even if the quality of education no longer matches what it used to.
Yeah.
So the reputation is still there nationally.
And
Okay.
that's the power of the University of Sierra Leone, I think.
Right.
You know,
The brand.
The brand.
Right.
And that's why we are seeing that surge at IPAM as
Okay.
well. Because there are other schools that offer the same courses. And then,
I think everyone just, not everyone, a lot of people just have this obsession of getting a white collar job and being in an office. It's
Sure,
not the
sure.
only opportunity, but
Sure.
it's the only jobs that they've had access to see.
Right.
That, okay, you can make money being a doctor. What the examples I gave earlier, people are not seeing the creative opportunity, the creative industries you can potentially go into. And I always say, like, we should look at Nigeria and what they've done with Nollywood. Like, that's a multi-million industry now.
Sure,
and
sure.
now, like, so many people have been able to collaborate because for an industry like Nollywood, you have not just the actors, you have the makeup artists, the set designers,
Wardrobe.
the fashion designers, the whole production. Like, so I think we really need to have more emphasis on creative opportunities.
When we're kids, the thing you're told is doctor, lawyer, you know, that kind of thing. And then you grow up, that's what's, you know, that's your focus. For me, I never thought while I was a kid that I would become like a cinematographer. In my mind, a cinematographer is a cameraman. And back in the day, a cameraman. Exactly. You know, and it took me being exposed to what it meant to be in that space for me to have a different perspective and, okay, I'm actually interested in this and it's okay to be in it because I see people that I can look up to in this space and I see myself making a living and doing very well for myself in this space. And I think that is one thing I don't know who will be intentional about it. I see a few people in this space, like Vicky is working in this space, like when it comes to content creation and all of that. She's a model people can look at and say, okay, she's in this content creation space, she's successful. It's okay for me to be in this space. And she's actually creating sort of like a window, a pipeline for people to come through. And I think other people should do that in the space. And interestingly, it's mostly women I see. I'm doing this in Sierra Leone now. There's a lady doing something called School Grind, Sunakaili. Yeah, and she's doing a good job with sort of like...
Can you tell us what School Grind is? Oh, what you know of it? I don't.
Yeah. She has this program where she goes to schools and she talks to school to kids about entrepreneurship.
Okay, nice.
And opening bringing people in to speak to them about different career paths and stuff like that. And she's really doing a good job with it. And I think that's very important because for me, the low-hanging fruits for young people in Sierra Leone is the digital space, tradesmanship, and craftsmanship.
Right.
Those are the low-hanging fruits.
And the creative,
creative,
like the art, or what they say,
space.
orange economy.
Exactly.
Yes, the orange.
In Nigeria, for example, a lot of young people sit in their houses and get paid in dollars. Just from working in the IT space. They're programmers, they didn't go to school for programming.
Self-taught.
They're business analysts and stuff like that. And
Or
they're
like a social media manager.
Yeah,
Plus you
social
have
media management.
One of the things I think that's happened that's really, really fantastic that has in some ways democratized the job markets globally is that you do have, for example, like most of the top-notch universities in the US, MIT, Harvard, and then you also have like the big corporations, right? Tech corporations like Google and Meta, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of them have free courses that you can take online. You may not be able to get like an MIT degree, but you can learn the skill sets,
Exactly.
right? And you can get certified for Python or SQL or any kind of like programming language out there without ever going into a classroom.
Exactly.
And without paying a cent.
Yes, because at the end of the day, what the employers care about is that you can execute and you can. So at the end of the day, it's like nobody's going to ask you, did you go to school to learn how to build a website? What they ask you is, show us the websites that you have built. right? And you send your portfolio, and out of what you have done, somebody could employ you to create more. And I guess for Sierra Leone, I don't know if one of the things that's often that I find challenging about the way people think, whether or not they've gone through formal education or not, is they don't take on the responsibility of learning new skills or making themselves more attractive to an employer, right? So for example, as an employer in Sierra Leone, naturally because I'm in the comm space, the first set of people that I always think should be my employees are people who've gone through either the mass communication programs at the University of Sierra Leone. And I've spoken about this before. I have met everybody, if someone has graduated with distinction or like honors from a program like that, I've met a lot of people, like the top of the top. They can express themselves well, as in they're able to talk English at a level that's higher than most, right? If you ask them to write something, they can write something better than most. However, in their mass communication programs, all the skills components are theoretical still. So they come through, they don't ever get to hold a camera, but they will learn theoretical photography. They will learn theoretical video. They will learn theoretical production, right? But never in their formation do they get to actually practice. And my thing is, so when I hear people say that, I'm like, okay, I hear you, right? So the school not provide, but what did you, as a person in this day and age, as a young person in this day and age, being cognizant of the fact that we live in this global digital world, you get access, how are you not aware or like thinking to yourself and asking questions, this photographer with so today we camera not in a problem, then making a note to yourself that like, I need to find a way to learn photography. Or you're a journalist and the only type of journalism that you're capable of doing is print journalism, right? Who say you to go in and get for dispatch photographer with you as a print journalist for they go and follow you for take picture? Even the basic one where they can get phone them, then still not even able to use the phone for properly do the work where they need for do. So I guess my thing is, it's like, what do you think is happening? My question is, what do you think is happening or what are we not doing in terms of to help young people understand in their minds that the society and the environment you're in is not capable right now because of 100 million other reasons, right? To properly take the leadership of giving you the training and formation you need, but that you as the individual, the responsibility ultimately lies with you. Because once you don't come on through the university system, the university they can't run after you for say, like what are we not doing? Where are we failing to, I don't know, opens people's eyes for them to understand that like the learning is continuous. And the most important thing is not the academic knowledge, but the skill sets.
The intellect, that curiosity is what I find woefully lacking in our students. And again, even with employers, that's what they see. That's why they're complaining. You can have the best top of the range
honors,
degree.
or as we can say, honors.
And then you go to the workplace, you sit there, you cannot think creatively, you cannot, do things on your own without being told. So I think, I believe that the problem has been the way our education system has been, how we've been socialized in education. We are not giving the leeway. I mean, even when I had a student who came to me one day and said, Prof, I want to have a first-class degree. I go, that's fine. And I want to work for it. And I go, good. So, and in the end, he did get it. He's one of our bright students. But so he was in HRM, and there was a lot of the library. Then I was in the library. The library had a lot of books and that. So he was reading on his own and so on. And then he came back to me to say that he would give his point of view taken from one of those, things that he's read. And of course, if it fell outside of what the lecturer had as his notes, it's like, well, you don't, knock on bog the class, that kind of thing.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I see. His.
So they're tamped down as well, and that's what we're seeing even in the skills training. Take, for example, there's a lot going on with Gara. Everybody's making the same designs. It's like, come on, can we have? I mean, it's good to have them trained, but
I've tweeted about this before, by the way,
it's
where I'm like, okay, our
Exactly.
my granny been a make
my
Gara,
grandmother
right?
did too.
We all, what's it called? There are the traditional patterns, right, that we all grew up with that everybody know.
Like what I'm wearing.
Exactly. They all get named, right? And then I'm like, okay, I'm glad there's this resurgence where consumption, or I don't know if consumption or demand or production is up. I don't know if not the demand or the production. I just say I see a lot of production,
That's
right?
right.
Somebody decided that just like at one time, because this is the other problem. At one time, it was hairdressing because maybe a World Bank project or somebody
Exactly.
writes something for say, waiting salon need right for guidance, the skills. Hairdressing. Then it went to wash car.
Yeah, everyone seems to copy.
I
each
say.
other.
Then they
So-
write project, then do wash car. After then do wash car, then say now that's the skill set way they can fix the country. They then did tricycle trash collector. Then they self don't can waiting and call. Now the hairdressing for the woman there, now in don't turn to go hairdressing. Then there was a moment that bead making. There was a bead making something like upsurge again that was like treated as like skills development and skills training. And now we have arrived at Gara. And all of the, like, I guess, local name brand fashion designers, everybody's making Gara. But no one is innovating, right? Everybody is doing the same exact thing, which means that it actually waters down the value, right? Because at the end of the day, you're not bringing anything new to the arts form. You're all using the same colors. You're using the same fabric. Like everything is exactly the same. And the interesting thing I tell people about, Gagana pattern, right? In 1 or 2 years, as far as I'm concerned, Gara making is not a skill set of the future. Gara making, it's data. The patterns are data. You can collect all the patterns for Gara making. You input them you code it and put it into machine learning. A computer can give you patterns that you can then screen print and then make textile that looks like Gara, that's not handmade, that's computer made. So Gara for me is actually one of those things I'm like, I don't know what you people are doing.
So this is very interesting. You were talking about all these things, Gara dyeing, car wash, and all of that. These were palliative programs designed by NGOs as social protection programs for the poorest people.
Yeah.
They are not wealth creation programs.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
So this is where I think like the government has to look at what we have locally and design policy. They don't have to implement these programs themselves.
Sure.
They just have to design policy that creates a space in which people that are interested in these things can build from. I think for the younger people that are coming out, one of the problems is vision.
Sure.
And when I talk about vision, I'm not talking big vision. I'm talking about vision for yourself,
Right.
where you see yourself. Now, the problem is your vision of yourself is limited based on what you know.
Of course.
So I think it is important for programs like yours and for School Grind and other people that are doing the same thing, to continue trying to open up the minds of our young people. Because you can go to the internet, and if you are looking for Emanuela every day, the internet will keep giving you Emanuela.
Of course.
You
Or
understand?
if you're looking for Champions League sports
Yes,
scores.
every day, the internet will keep giving you that and stuff related to that. But when you happen on, like, I learned a lot on the internet about cinematography and all of that. There are forums online where you can connect to people. You can connect to the best in the world. You can chat with them directly.
But that's because you had the passion and the vision.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's it.
So somebody has to take that responsibility for igniting that. One of the ways I think that can be done in a way is internship programs, like having young people do internships where they go in and work in offices, and they have this broad look at what might be.
There are internship programs. Well, first of all, there aren't many institutions where they can go do these internships.
Right.
And also what's interesting is most of these offices are also, I mean, they take the students on.
They're not skills being taught in the
Exactly.
offices. So then they take it and then go sit down. They
Sit
either
down.
then go buy, now then they do
Odd
errand,
jobs
like,
and
yes.
So they're
yes.
not really being.
It will be the same complaint anyway if you were to let people do internships. I think there's something missing. And when I was in sixth form, I used to do this class. It was compulsory. Everyone had to do this class fortnightly. And at the time, I was like, this is such a stupid lesson. Why are we doing this? But when I moved to Sierra Leone, I saw how vital it was. And it was called critical thinking. So we'd have a topic, and it would be anything like in the news, and then we'd have to discuss it. And that's something that's lacking here. Like, people just don't have critical thinking.
Right.
And everything is to be told to them, almost like, everyone kind of just follows the masses like in sheep. And even the example you were saying, Vicky, where if you're in class and you're learning about the I can't even say the word.
Theoretical.
The theoretical side of photography. And you were like doing critical thinking, like, oh, well, this seems hard. Let me actually see how I can get a camera. But people are not taught those skills to even think like that. People are entitled and think once they have the degree, okay, I don't do this step, I should get the next one, kind of thing. So I think that's the biggest issue. Critical thinking will then allow you to be innovative and to just use common sense a bit more.
Well, we are running a pilot at IPAM,
All right.
and it was one of my harebrained ones.
Okay.
But we are in the second year, so
Okay.
we are hoping to see by the time they graduate to see,
What happens?
Yes.
Okay.
So there are the basic skills that every first-year student would take: math, communication skills, and introduction to ICT. So what we decided was to come up with what we're calling the foundation studies. So
Okay.
we had these three, but we introduced critical thinking,
Okay.
learning, academic success skills, just learning how to learn. And so we're in the second year, and also media and information literacy. So every first
And I'm not like your professor. How am I not teaching?
You're never here, Vicky.
Hey, in this digital age, in this virtual age, something must be done about this. What?
Oh, you got yourself a class.
There you go. There you go. We're gonna make it happen.
We'll
Take
make
Vicky
it
Amos.
happen.
Oh, in fact, that's what tells you owner gets. It go reach 24,000.
We'll go party there. No, but so we're trying to see. But it's interesting that even with the lecturers, it's like, who's one this, kind of.
Right.
And it's caught on, but students still think they have to study to pass the exam. You know what I'm saying? Because
Sure.
that's how.
The formation.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, but we're hoping that at least in the next 2 years, when that cohort graduates, to see if there's any difference.
Right.
And it's exciting to see what is academic success. They don't. So even our lecturers needed to be kind of brought on board. We had orientations and things like that. So And at first it was like rejected. You know, people was, oh, it's taking time out of what they should be doing. But we were coming from the position there that they cannot succeed if some of these basic skills are not there.
Right.
What is also we should be looking out for coming down the pike is, you know, the basic and senior secondary education have a new curriculum. They have broadened the streams to 5.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're taking the math and something, whatever, so it's math, communication
How many
for math.
streams were there before?
3.
Three.
It was arts, science, and commercial. In my day, it was just 2 arts or science. And yeah, and they have the languages. So it's kind of broadening. They have the core subjects, they have applied, and they have what they call everyday learning kinds of things. So it's not filtered down. I don't think it started. But that's
The curriculum implementation hasn't started.
No,
Okay.
but it's out there, it's been approved and so on. So we're all waiting to see, which also means that then admission requirements to the universities would need to evolve as well. And so, you know, there are a lot of maybe interesting things, and let's just hope that that generation that will be part of that group, as I say, you have all of these opportunities online that they can tap into. But again, during the COVID, when schools were closed, I don't know if you remember, there was a Coursera.
Yes, they did a partnership thing.
I mean, the uptake was abysmal. Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I thought.
Mm.
Okay, let me not because. Okay.
No, I mean, people started, maybe took 1 or 2 classes, and that was it. Yeah. And they didn't follow through.
Okay. No, because I was like, I remember it being the political communications on it was that there were all these, you know what I mean? Thousands. I know, it's in a political communication. I don't want to talk about it now. With learning, there's also a culture of learning, right? Mm-hmm. Like there's a
self-directed.
Thank you. So like if you have not come from a culture where self-taught, self-learning, self-paced independence learning is something you know or you've been able to do or needed to do, I think that this idea of having online courses, right, to a population, first of all, for whom online is just, I mean, and this is my big thing, I say, when people talk about internet culture in Sierra Leone, internet culture has not yet arrived. Mm-hmm. What has arrived is social media culture, which is Facebook and WhatsApp, right? TikTok. It's a very closed thing. It's not the Internet of Things. It's not the internet. One of the things that I check out every year that comes out is Hootsuite does like reports on like internet usage, internet behavior, internet statistics for every country every year. And I download it every year and I look. And every single year since they started, the top 20 things that get searched for from Sierra Leone are Mercury, sports, Mercury Lotto results, Champions League stuff, anything to do with Champions Leagues, numbers, sports, fixtures. Maybe a couple Nollywood or Nigerian, free African movie, something. But you can tell from what people are searching that like the internet that we know, like the internet that I know that everybody, the world knows, has not really arrived here. It's like the connectivity technology arrived, but the internet or digital literacy in Sierra Leone has not yet arrived. It's like we got weird things because there was this time when they were like internet cafes. Yeah. And in other places, it was the internet cafes that then started introducing people to internet culture, right? It's like we got internet cafes and the culture part. We kind of leaped. We kind of did a terrible, sometimes leapfrogging is not a good thing. You should not be leapfrogging. Now for Teteloda, because if you leapfrog there, because we went from, people had internet cafes for a long time before they got mobile internet or mobile phones. Sierra Leone got internet cafes almost as the same time as the mobile phone companies came in, right? So as soon as internet got to smartphones, the internet cafe kind of died. Do you understand what I mean? And we leapfrogged into mobile internet without a population that had gone through that most young people in a salon or ever right now, like Gen Zers, they've never been to an internet cafe. They don't know that internet cafe culture, right? So all they know, like now mobile internet, then sabi, and that's an individualized thing. You know, they sit on here posting, Sam, what you do by your computer? So show me, which is what used to happen at the internet cafes, which is why, in Ghana, Sakawa grew so quickly. The internet's 419.
Yeah.
We don't even get we don't even get internet 419 than a salon.
Yeah.
No. Antonio, I say that because that actually is part of internet culture, because people, their internet skills so advanced, they're able to criminalize that now for do bad thing. But we don't even get internet 419ers there because we don't get internet culture. So we can't even create criminals.
So we have a problem there too when it comes to when the university moved to online applications. So, I mean, that's the first time students would have to create an email account and things like that. And most of them go to the few cafes that are around to have them do their applications. Yeah. Then the problem comes, their friends start receiving alerts that you ask, so they come in with complaints. You ask them, they can't remember their email address. They can't remember their password. I mean, because somebody did it for them. And what we also have discovered is that while this somebody is inputting all the information, they're busy doing other things, not trying to learn.
Like, I don't pay you, folks. And
exactly. It goes back to what I was saying about critical thinking. You don't know how to create a password and an email. Would you not use YouTube to then say, how do I create an email and a password? Like the way people are using
internet culture. Internet culture not day. Google not day. Exactly. Google, people that know or as people in the salon, Google.
Please.
Google
even like some of the CVs I've seen, I'm just like, would you not go on the internet and see examples of it? I'm already shocked, one, that they're not taught how to do a CV at school. But then secondly, it goes back to what we were saying. Why would you not take it upon yourself to learn? How do I make my CV stand out?
So like YouTube is like for long form content and for learning.
Internet, it's like the University of YouTube. YouTube University. YouTube University.
You can learn anything.
Yeah.
But one interesting thing that happens anytime I travel, when I go on YouTube, because I use free YouTube, I get a lot of ads. When you come to Sierra Leone,
you don't get ads.
You don't get ads. And why is that? Because you don't have a population that is on YouTube that you can sell to.
Right.
And that shows that we don't use YouTube. And for me, that's an opportunity. To create content, you just need a phone. You don't need any expensive cameras.
Are you listening, Sierra Leone? Are you listening to create content? You don't need. You just need a phone.
I see a lot of people handling the latest iPhones. Yeah. When Apple,
they're not even using it to full capacity.
When Apple was releasing the latest iPhone, they used iPhones to shoot the whole release. And now you can create really good, high quality content with an iPhone.
It's 4K.
And you can put it on the internet. And if you create content that is relevant to people in your space, people will watch it.
Oh, Jon, it's like you were in my last staff meeting.
And if people watch it, you've created a platform that has eyes on you. And if people have eyes on you, somebody that is selling a product wants those eyes on you. Of course. And that person can pay you to have access to the eyes on you.
Simply.
That is money. But our people have not been...
You're a product of your environment at the end of the day. No one has shown you that. Even when, Vicky, you were saying you can get these different qualifications at MIT. How many people know about that?
See, I guess, information is power, right? Like, being or having access to information is power. I guess my thing is, and maybe this is an unfair assessment, but that like, if you have the time, the energy, and the resources, also, this is gonna sound a little, I don't know, condescending. I apologize in advance. But if you have the resources to be able to get the latest Afrobeat songs and stream who is this and that, and where is Tiwa Savage today? What is she wearing? Like the debates that I see going on, like Sierra Leoneans are clearly plugged into global popular culture because when I go on Facebook, I see people participating in conversation about what's going on in the world, right? At least in pop culture. So I'm like, so people they know what's going, you know what I mean? When Hilda Bassi was doing her thing, people were connected,
Invested.
right? They were invested. When Big Brother Naija is on, people are invested in what's going on. Even today, as the reality TV of the day is on, people are plugged in and they're invested and they're watching online, right? How is it that these same people, right, who are using the same tool, the same resources to consume entertainment, can't go as far as creating, using the same tools and resources for their own personal advancement? And where they talk about like people that don't know. One thing that I feel like, and we were talking about this yesterday about the power of Nollywood, right? One thing I feel like African films did is the same thing that like TV did for American culture at a certain time. That the film industry, African films became a kind of education of what's going on in the world, what's cool, what's trending, how you should do your hair, how you should do your makeup. Like it's some weird kind of socialization that's happened from, people even get married now in Sierra Leone, much in the style of Nollywood movies because that's what they've seen, right?
Even like the whole ghetto culture. Because
Everything. No, Nollywood
Has taken over.
has exported lifestyle and culture, right? And I guess my point is within those movies, which are very modern, a lot of the things we're talking about here about the lifestyle work, the way people approach things, et cetera, they're all also in these movies, right? So you're consuming the movies, you're taking the culture of beauty and presentation. Why or how come are you also not learning, right? As we wrap up the conversation, I want to talk about what you think. I don't want to say regulators, right? Because, jobs aren't really regulated, but incentives can be created. One of the things I remember about Nollywood that happened maybe 10, 15 years ago, I don't remember, and maybe what happened specifically in Enugu, I don't know where, but I do remember there was a time, once the government of Nigeria realized how powerful Nollywood was, one, as a job creator, two, exporting made in Nigeria brand, Nigerian culture. I do believe that they created grants money to support the sector. There was also a time when an evolution where we started seeing banks getting into film and the creative sector to support, again, the growth because they realized this is power, there's something here. And as we look at Sierra Leone today, one of the things that I always wonder is like, what can government or regulators do to support the growth of the kinds of skill sets that we've been talking about here? What can government do? I don't want to say government because government is like big, right? I can always look at people like regulators. What can leadership or regulators do to be able to kind of support young people today who are going to either in the workforce now starting out or who are going to be in the workforce of the future to make sure that they are closer to the skills or getting the skills they need to be either more employable or better entrepreneurs? I'm going to start with you, Antonio. since you're kind of on the regulatory side yourself, like
I'm on the production.
okay, on the production side, what do you think needs to happen on the production side, the graduate production side, that can, like on a regulation side, right? Like what policies do we need to have affected? What resources need to be available for us to make sure that we can better prepare young people for the workforce of the future?
What I see is kind of more, it's not probably not policies and so, but what can we do to open, the mindsets?
Okay.
I was speaking with a young woman who has, she did procurement.
Procurement.
And worked as a procurement officer, a monitoring and evaluation person, and so on. Now she's open, she has a supermarket with local foods.
Okay.
And she also has a chain, she has a farm, she employs women.
Okay, nice.
And that kind of, and what she told me was she was using her logistics, because the degree is procurement, logistics, supply chain kind of thing. So she's parlayed that into her business. So, and I think you asked a question earlier, what can you do with sociology? In my day, a lot of colleagues at the time who read sociology either went into gender and all that, but some of them went into rural sociology and things like
rural
that.
development.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. So I think we need to do more of that in the whatever level of education, to let people see that you can be trained in this, but those skills translate.
Applicable.
Yeah. I keep telling my colleagues that, hey, I'm a librarian. I organize information. That's how I am trained. That's how I think. So when I go into the finance office and sometimes, or whatever office, and where are your files? Because that's how I think. And I've had colleagues tell me, you can do that. Because if you have the skill set, but you're not probably aware that you have them. So probably we need to be more overtly teaching that these are the possibilities, but encourage that curiosity. To me, that's why is this not working? What can I do? If I want to do this, how can I get there? That is what is so woefully lacking. And I think you can have all these policies. So for example, we have at USL have expanded our curriculum, like I was saying. So it's not just accounting, you can do tax and auditing and, those kinds of things. So again, you're trying to get certified auditors who may not need to work for the government or industry. So, and that's been our response in the traditional way. But we also are hoping that this Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation would be, a light bulb, because we also think we can have little spaces where they can market their products, sell their ideas and things like that, and have so kind of do some hand-holding for like a year until you're ready. And so it's that can be their address as well, their business address.
Sure.
So these are all kind of experiments, at this point, but we think that could be one way we, as a business school can open up more avenues apart from the academic. And we're also doing trying to create microcredit, certification.
Okay.
So, for example, those who are in the accounting program. So even though this is not built into the curriculum, but at the end of their year, their fourth year, we've introduced Excel for accountants.
Okay.
So, just trying to give them an extra edge so that when they get to the workplace, they can do, So while sometimes I don't know if government has to do a lot of things.
Sure.
So, but if they create an environment where this kind of flourishing of ideas and you talked about I think Nigeria, for example, had been very generous with their appreciation of and support for the arts, which we do not have. So Nollywood it was easy for that to thrive, to take off. But even in our film industry, budding one here, it's all, why would you be talking about Igwe in Sierra Leone? You know, the whole copycat thing we've been talking about. So
That there is another show, ladies and gentlemen. We're
Indeed.
not going
We're
to able to that local content policy day. That is the other one.
you know, so the local content policy is there, but we have to make it work.
Yeah, we
for
got to
us.
live it.
Yeah.
We got to live it. Right.
In a nutshell.
Right. Jon, as someone who has more or less created a career for themselves, right? What's your advice to young people out there who may have already come through the educational system, already have their degrees, and are trying to figure out how, like a vision, right?
Yeah.
A career vision or career path for themselves. What do you think is what are the building blocks, right? Towards having a vision for your career and then taking those first steps.
Okay. So interestingly, before I even did IT, my first thing was I wanted to be a pilot.
Oh, okay.
I was honed in on that.
Wow, okay.
But then, about the time I was entering university, that's when 9/11 happened.
Oh.
And if you came from certain parts of the world at that time and you wanted to get into flight school,
Forget
it made
about
it
it.
harder for you.
Right.
Wow, blatant discrimination.
Not to then say and not get to my own flight school though.
So I had to turn elsewhere. It was a huge disappointment for me. But why I talk about internships is when I got into university, I think after my second year, every vacation I interned somewhere. I interned at Michelin, interned at different places. And what that helped me do was that I started realizing what I did not like,
Right. That's
Okay.
also important.
Yeah.
or what I wasn't interested in. And so all of those things contributed to me getting to where I am today by a sort of elimination. Because growing up, it's the same doctor, lawyer, accountants kind of thing that was in my head. My parents were liberal, but I couldn't see past what was around me initially. And I feel internships are important in that way. You might not learn much, but you might learn that this thing that they do in this office here. So if I get for the I'll be miserable.
You have to be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
I had a really good saying, actually. It's very simple, but I think it's from Erica Badu. She said, find something you're good at and master it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's all you need to do.
Right.
So these are things like, going back to the question you just asked her, I think government can introduce policy where they give incentives to companies or organizations
That are doing internships.
that do internships for
Right.
people, because you either go there and your world is opened up to new possibilities, or you go there and you're like, nah, I don't want to do this.
Right.
Or you tell yourself, well, I don't really like this, but I can see how I make money out of this
Right.
and survive. And that's good enough for you. And I think about apprenticeships too, because what I did, the moment I had my first, opportunity, like I told you guys about, what I did was that I made myself available every time. So it was kind of like apprenticeship without really an apprenticeship. It was my curiosity. Not everybody has that level of curiosity. But again, I feel like if government makes policy where they're like, okay, for even tradesmen or craftsmen, if you get your mechanic shop and you take on 5 people there and train them for 3 years, government is going to give you a slight break on your taxes
Something.
or something like that.
Something, yeah.
It's going to-
Assuming they pay taxes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
that,
but some
Yeah,
incentive.
no, I'm just kidding.
That's
Yeah.
going to have a lot of tradesmen and craftspeople, bringing younger people in. And trust me, like you said, there are a lot of talented, creative people in Sierra Leone. They just need to have the opportunity to be in certain spaces, and they will innovate on their own in those spaces. So I think that opening up of knowledge and opportunities is really important. Again, most of our economy is informal, as in employable labor force is informal. So we have to figure out a way to make that informal, employment produce really talented people and skill sets. There are some things you will never learn, even if you go on YouTube and all that. The moment you are in the space where you're working, you realize, oh, this is why this is done. Our youth employment is like close to 70%. Unemployment,
yes,
rather.
Yes.
Close to 70%. And that's like over 2/3. So like two out of three, Sierra Leonean youth have nothing doing. They're not being productive.
We see our graduates, they'll tell you that, I graduated 4 years ago. So what are you doing?
I defend work. Yes, I defend work.
Work not day. That's the bottom line.
So we have to rethink.
So we have to rethink. How do we make people
think that?
Exactly.
But again, as a society, I think, we're used to this handout culture as well.
Right.
I think that's also part of it. Yeah.
Handouts culture, workforce. Listen.
Okay, get me out of here.
So it's been a great conversation, and I hope that the takeaway for young people who are listening or anybody in the labor force, most importantly, it's that your frame of mind as you are building skills, learning, coming out of university, is one that understands that this market, this job market, one, doesn't have jobs. Two, the jobs that are available to you or the jobs that you'll get are directly related to the kind of skill sets that you have and not necessarily the paper where you get. And that most importantly, you have to take leadership. If you want to be a part of the workforce of the future, you have to take the leadership for your preparation, your continuous learning, and the skill sets that you have. If the university not provide them for you, you have to go to the internet. You have to go to the local carpenter or production company or whatever entity exists within your community or within your town where they're doing this thing well, and go seek to learn from them. One of the things I can tell people, I can say, if you want to learn how to bake and you go na bakery, outside they no make bakery announcement, then they look for baker, and you go there every day for 1 week, they say you want learn, and then see you, they show up every day, every morning, and every morning when you come, you present yourself in a way professional and trustworthy. You say, no, me, I know so I not get job now, so I just want to learn. And no sign of the way you go with skills day, where they say, I just want to learn, I want to train, I go come every day. Where if you show them because of persistence, say you want to learn, they're not going to teach you. That's for any kind of vocation, anywhere. Like eventually, basically, then just they say, it's anyways. This boy, I just, they can't know, he want learn. This girl just, they can't. Fine, can't learn. So you have to take the initiative. You have to take the leadership, because in the workforce of the future, either a robot will replace you, AI will replace you, or possibly sabi use the robots and possibly sabi use the AI will replace you. And there are just some jobs and just some skills that are never going to be as marketable or as high earning as others. But now you get for know that, and now you get for make sure say you enter the future with the skills of the future. Thank you so much for joining us on today's edition of the Make Sierra Leone Famous podcast. I've been your host with the most talented, amazing. I have so many adjectives. We do not have enough time on the show for me to share them with you. But I hope that the one that you do remember is that I'm on a campaign along with you to make Sierra Leone famous for the right reasons. Today's podcast was recorded live and direct from VRNT Marketing Studios here in Freetown, Sierra Leone. On camera one, our Really, our jack of all trades multimedia producer has been Augustine Cargbo. On camera, 2 production assistants, Alassane Lamine Kagbo, no relation to Augustine Kagbo, the Kagbo then just Bokuna Salon. And our sound engineer and co-producer for the podcast has been Frank Vin, Bob McEwen. Until next time, una tata.